Thanks very much indeed, Paul. Daniel, I've never seen you look so relieved. In fact, I don't think I've ever seen any fighter look so relieved at getting a win as you were at the end of that contest.
Yeah, it's been a very rough ride, you know, and I'm glad to be back. And
it showed, Daniel. How did you feel when you got in the ring? Was your head clear or were you having flashbacks? How did you feel?
There was a little bit of thoughts going through my head, but, you know, I listened to Shane, what he told me, and I just stuck to instructions, and it's all happened, man. It's great.
You mentioned there, Dan, let's not mince our words. It's been a hard 6 months or 7 months for you, and I know you're strong mentally and you avoid an awful lot of some of the things people say, but it has been a really tough time. It must be fantastic to have got back in there and got the win this evening.
It is, you know. My sister just qualified for the Olympics.
Oh no, what a night for the Dubois!
And I'm glad I'm back. Yeah, I've picked up a belt as well.
Shane, I can tell you, I know you haven't worked with him for years, but he never smiles like that. You've delivered a great smile at least. You didn't have him for long enough, but did you see enough in the short time you've had him and the short time the fight lasted to show you that he's heading in the direction you want him to head?
Yeah, he's only 23 years of age. You know, he's young. He's obviously suffered a little loss, but he needs to go back, rebuild, and I think we did that. I think that was a fantastic performance. We didn't have long, but give us 6 months, a year, and you'll see the best of him.
And you told him to get a bit closer, which he did, and he finished the fight quickly, having listened to your instructions. When he first came in, when he first came through your doors, what were your very, very first thoughts, Shane?
How good his legs were, how good his distance control was. You know, he's got fantastic legs, he just needs to use them a little bit more. And speed comes from the ground up. Sometimes he pours his shots out, but the more he uses his feet, the more he punches with his legs, the more speed and the more devastation you're going to see with Daniel Dubois. And I think, give us 6 months, give us a year, he's going to be knocking on the door of the big boys, trust me.
Now, Daniel, even before you finished it, you seemed relaxed. In the first round, you seemed relaxed, and he wasn't here to fall over big Bogdan, was he? Alongside the sense of relief, do you get the feeling now that your career's back on some kind of track?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I want to get back in the mix and, you know, taking things easy with Shane and learning new things in the gym. We're going to get there, man.
Now, I'm going to ask you the inevitable question. What would you like next? I mean, apart from an intensive 5 or 6 months with Shane, who would you like to fight next?
Whoever they bring from me, whoever they bring up, whatever. I'll knock them all down.
Do you, at any point in the next year or 2 years, do you need to fight Joyce in your head? Do you need to fight Joe Joyce in your head?
I want to clear that up. I want to have the rerun again, and I need to set it right. And, you know, I just need to keep listening to what Shane tells me and just keep being the best I can be.
And Shane, you obviously watched the Joe Joyce fight. I'm assuming you watched it. If it wasn't live, you watched it at another time. When you saw Daniel Dubois that night, did you have any thoughts? I mean, it wasn't working with you at that point. You know, you had no contact with him. But what went through your head, if you can cast your mind back to late November?
I know how good Joe Joyce is. I know how effective he is. You know, he's a big 18.5 stone strong guy. He can punch. He's got a fantastic work rate. So, personally, I think he needed 1 or 2 more tests. But look, it is what it is. He's going to have to go back and. But technically, Dan just needs to improve. He just needs to work on Daniel Dubois, make sure he's as good as he can be from a physical and athletic and boxing standpoint. And once we get those fundamentals locked in, I believe he can beat all of these boys. I'm telling you, I've never felt power like it on the pads. And he's literally, we just need to chip away, make sure he gets there technically, and he's going to be an absolute nightmare.
He certainly is a nightmare. Now, before I let you go, Daniel, you mentioned there your sister Caroline. You think you've had a hard 6 months. How's her year been? It's been the most frustrating 12 months for any boxer ever. She must be so relieved. Have you spoken to her?
This is just the start as well, you know. She's got a long road and she's now qualified for the Olympics, so she's got to go for gold.
A good night for the Dubois family. Daniel, 100%. Good to have you back. Shane, great to talk to you again. Back to you, Paulie.